Hello everyone, Professor Toybox here, along with Olaf, and
Wait, am I all here? Legs, arms, nose, butt? I'm good.
good. Anyway, we're back in my frozen toy box, where I'm creating a winter festival in the Kingdom of Arendelle, and so far I've been working on recreating Arendelle itself in the toy box.
Isn't this place the best?
It is a neat place, all right. Today we come to probably the most challenging part of this build, the hills around Arendelle. I've got some screenshots here from the Frozen movie to show you what I mean. In this zoomed out shot, you can see Arendelle is kind of nestled in this little bowl of hills, and it's pressed right up against some massive canyon walls. I don't think the toy box is going to have the memory for this, so we're going to have to scale this way back. From this shot, we can see the hills immediately surrounding the town, and right away I can see some more challenges. I don't see any way to get up on some of those hills. Plus, there's some hill shapes that don't have matching terrain pieces in the toy box, like that massive hill near the top middle of the picture. It's really steep. Even if I had a terrain piece with that shape, there's no way the player could run or ride up it. The same is true for many of the other hills I'm seeing. I do see a number of plateaus at different levels with houses and trees on them. That's something we can build. Since I plan to do some skiing and snowboarding in here and riding and racing reindeer, I think I'm going to lean toward usability rather than accuracy in this part of the build and try to capture the spirit of what I see here without necessarily trying to duplicate the scenery accurately. So I've been working on a terrain design for the last few days, and I think I've come up with something that will suit my needs and it won't look too ugly. So we're going to start over here in this corner of the toy box near the castle wall. And this shape here kind of matches what I see best on this particular corner near the retaining wall for the town. So I'm going to drop this here. And I've already set the texture to the Hoth snow texture. And then I'm going to put down this larger slope over here. And we're going to drop that right over here up against this wall. And I'm trying to use large slopes as much as possible because it'll save on memory. And the fewer different shapes that we use, the better. So overall, this I think will work best. And we'll come back over here to this large slope and fit this right here. And I don't think there's a slope that actually runs up that castle wall like that. But because I plan to race some horses and I'd like to come down this area and into the bay and be able to ride around the perimeter of the toy box, I'm going to need a way to do that. And so we're actually going to put that in here. There we go. And I think that goes about like so. And my plan is that I'd like to be able to have a race with some reindeer and ride down this slope. And so the big hill that we saw in the middle of that picture, I'm going to put that in here. And this will be the slope that's running up to that hill. I'm going to leave a little gap here for that. And we're going to slide this back. Actually, we need it to line up. There we go. Like that. And then that really odd shaped hill did have a slope that ran up that side of it, so I think that will work okay. I'll come back over here, pick this up, which puts me back in this part of the drawer. And there we go. And I'm going to go ahead for right now and set this texture to the Frozen Flourish texture and make that my theme, because I'm going to drop several blocks with this, and I think the rock for this will stand out nicely against the snow. And I'm going to need another little block over here underneath this to fill that little gap there. And then we can move this slope over. And we'll scroll over here and pick up some of these canyon shapes. And this doesn't quite match the shape of that hill, but it's not too bad. There we go. And then we'll come pick this up one more time. And that gets me close to this block. There. So that's not too bad. Now we've got kind of an unsightly gap there, or seam. So I'm going to come in over here, and we're going to scroll over to some of these ledge pieces like we used in my Atlantis build. And this should help cover that up pretty well. Like that. And ditto for the other side. There, that looks pretty good. And it looks a little bit like that hill. Not exactly, but can live with it. Okay, now for the next part of this challenge, as you might remember, I mentioned before that the terrain blocks are typically 1 block high or 3 blocks high. And the town is built on top of these castle blocks, which are 2 blocks high. So you'll notice we have a 1 block gap over here. And so we've got to do something about that. And so we're going to come in and actually, let's come back over to this flat piece here. We'll pick that up and put it back down, which will get us back to this part of the drawer. And we got some 1 block high flat pieces here that we can use. And I'm going to go ahead and change this back to the Echo Base texture. And we need 2 of these. And I need something to fill that little hole there, so we'll put down another one of these, like we did in the first video. There we are. And we've also got a little gap here we need to fill. I've actually got the perfect piece for that. And that'll fill that nicely. And I think actually what I'm going to do with this one, so I'm going to go ahead and set that to Frozen Flourish because I think that'll look nice with the rock there. But either way, it'll work. You could even use that Frozen Flourish texture for these if you wanted to put that across here. I don't think it would look too out of place. Okay, so now I don't want to drop another one of these here because this is the road out of town. And so I'm going to actually put in a slope here. And rather than a curved shape, which I think uses a little bit more memory, I'm going to use this wide terrain ramp, which is a simpler geometry. And then we'll come back over here and pick up this little half slope and use that to get up to the top of the hill here, like that. Okay, so now we're going to put in some more slopes here. And make sure I consult my notes so I don't mess this up. As I mentioned, this is one of the more difficult parts of this build, is getting these slopes right. And I didn't want to use the terrain generators because I kind of wanted this to look a little bit better. There, that's the one I needed. Slope matches on that side, and I'm going to have a flat area over here, so that's good. And I think this is the shape I need for this side. There we go. And I know this looks like I'm kind of sticking these terrain blocks in weird positions here. I'm not putting the connecting blocks in just yet because I want to stick with these shapes if I can. So you've been probably wondering how this is going to look. We'll come back over here to this large terrain block that I put down near the beginning, and I'm going to put down a bunch more of these. And this will connect up all of the different slopes that I've been laying down, and you'll be able to see what this is going to look like and get a better idea of the shape of the slopes that I'm putting in. There we go. There, like that. This is going to be a little bit longer video than the first two that I did in this series. There's a lot to do here, and I couldn't really think of a good way to break this up. So we're going to try to knock this all out in one shot, and then next time we can get on to some of the fun games and activities that I want to do. So I apologize, this will be a little bit longer than normal. As I said, this is a really tricky build, and I don't really want to break this up in the middle of it. I kind of need to get all of this done in one shot if I can. So hopefully you'll bear with me. And if nothing else, you can fast forward and see the end result and see how it all comes out in the end. But I want to take the time to actually do this because I know a number of my viewers who are following me on YouTube and other social media sites like to follow along with my builds in their toy boxes. So I want to make sure you guys see how this goes together because this is pretty complex and there's a lot of odd shapes here and things that you kind of need to see how they go together if you want to be able to recreate what I'm building here. And then I'm going to have this slope run right down to the bay. I think normally in the movie you see a waterfall here, but putting in any kind of water texture is going to be a problem because that's going to take up a lot of memory. So I don't think I want to do that. There we go. So now we're starting to see the hills taking shape a little bit. Now we'll fill in some of these little areas here around town because we have to fit these hills in here around the village. And for that, we're going to run into some issues here with some of these terrain blocks. So I'm going to take a few of these out so that I got some room here to work. And if I have to, I can put them back in. And I'm going to start with one of these big shapes over here. And for right now, I'm going to drop that there because I need to stick another piece right over here to fill this little gap. Right there. That tiny little sliver of a hole. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to pick up one of those canyon pieces again. And I'm thinking probably this one. And as you can see, we're going to run into the problem where the town is 1 block higher, or town's sitting at 2 blocks high instead of 3. So that leaves us a gap there at the top. I don't think there's much we can do about that, but we can drop that there. And we can put this here, and that should line up with the edge of that, like so. Now we can leave this white. That doesn't look bad. Or we can change this to the Frozen Flourish blue texture, which I'm going to do because I kind of like that here along the edge of town a little bit. It stands off from the white snow on those rooftops. And it does look a little out of place because I'm using that same blue for the ice in the bay. But we can come over here and we can fill this in with some smaller slopes to kind of bring the snow down a little bit. There we are. That's not too terribly bad. I think just so that that block doesn't look too out of place, I'm going to go ahead and make that the Frozen Flourish texture as well. There we go. So now it looks like the snow is spilled down on top of that rocky formation, and we can cover up some of that blue with some trees and some more buildings and things. Now the edge of this is going to run into these houses here. So I'm going to go ahead and clear those out and move these over and make these line up a little bit better. I can't really take these out because I want these here. But if we line up with the edge of the brick, I think that'll work. And then we're going to have to take this brick out because that's sticking out too far. There we go. And now I think we can fill this in with some snow here, and that'll help make up for that. And we can fill in a couple of little blocks here to make up for the gap there. There we go. So now we got a flush edge there where we can start to put in the rest of this. And we're going to come back up here to the terrain blocks. I need one about like so. And let's see, I need it to line up with that. Like that. And the next one over, I need to sit back a little ways. I think about like that. Because I'm going to put another one of these pieces in here. Namely that really wide one. And I got to move it back a little bit further. There we go. And make sure that comes all the way down. And I'm also going to set this to be the Frozen Flourish. And I'll set that to be my theme for right now, because I got a few more of these I want to put down. So now that comes down there like so. And now we're going to go ahead and put in the bay, the rock perimeter around the bay. And now if I laid out all of these blocks correctly, this piece here should fit right in there. There we go. And it did. And then this one comes right over here, like that. And we need to fill in this gap over here. So we'll do that with that. And a terrain block. And we'll use this little wedge here. And there we go. So that's looking pretty good. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pick this one up again. Set it down, and we'll come in over here and fill this in. And I think because I got quite a big area to fill in, we'll use the bigger block shape here. Like that. And I'm going to change that back to the snow and set that to my theme again. And there we go. And we got another block we got to put in over here. Here we are. Okay, so let's see what we got. That looks good. Oh, we got a gap under there. So we need to come in under here and set this in here to fill that little gap. Like that. That looks good. And I know these hills look kind of plain right now, but I'm kind of focusing on the shape of them more than anything else. And now we got a gap down here we have to fill. And I think rather than try to fill that in with little blocks, we got these little ones up here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually remove those. And I think we can slide these down. They won't line up with some of the blocks they're next to, but this will save us a little memory. I'd rather put down a large block rather than a bunch of little blocks whenever I can. There we go. And then we are going to need one more little row of blocks right along here. Like that. And then to fill in that gap, we'll drop in some snow. And I'm thinking, because of the way this is up, this block is fully covered, so we don't need that. That'll save a little bit of memory. And that one part of it is visible, so I need that. I'm thinking what we could probably even do is slide these down and get rid of some of these other little blocks on this end. I'll do that offline though. That'll help free up some space for that. There. So there we go. That's looking pretty good. It'll look even better once we get some decorations on there. And I'm not going to force you to watch through all of that, but I will show you where I'm getting the decorations from. So if you come into the customizable pieces in the plants drawer, and we've done this before, there's a bunch of these shapes here. These are all customizable. And you can come in here into Spark mode and theme all of these. And we can theme them to be the Frozen Flourish. And what you're going to find here is there's a lot of nice snowy pine tree textures and some different little rock and ice formations. And I won't theme all of these, but you get the idea. And so this is what I'm going to use to cover the hillside here. And I'm also going to put in some more little buildings and just kind of fill in this whole area. And I'll be back in a moment and give you a quick tour of it. Then we'll be done for the day. Okay, I'm back. I filled in the details up top that I wanted to fill in with the trees and different cabins and things. So I'll give you a quick look at this before we finish for the day. So the retaining wall over here along the castle, I've extended that out and made it flush with the edge of the world over here on this side. And you can kind of see behind the scenes here how it was constructed. And I filled in some vegetation and things to give a bit of a border here to this. And up top on the slope we added some pine trees to help cover up a few of the seams. And we put a cabin up top on here like you see in the screenshots. And then over here we have a row of cabins that are set up on the 1 block height there, so they're elevated above these other ones in town. So kind of like you see in the screenshot there from the movie. And we've added some cabins up along here and along the perimeter of the slopes here. And then on the slopes up here we've added some more trees, and feel free to go ahead and pause this if you need to see how it's put together if you're trying to duplicate this in your own toy box. But basically I'm just trying to create a border here and give the player idea of where they're supposed to go. I've got a ski resort I've set up here on the top of this peak with Oaken's Lodge, with the trading lodge up here. And my ski slope's going to start from here. We're going to build this one of these next videos. And you'll ski down and around this slope, and you can see the trees here kind of providing a border that tells you where you need to go. And when we reach this point we can go down that way, or we can come around this way, which my slalom course is going to do. And the trees kind of guide you as to where you need to go. And then I'm going to put some additional things here during the race that'll show up that will guide you down this way to the finish line. But we'll get to that another time. But you can kind of see there's a lot of different trees and things in here, and a lot of nice finishing touches. So this is going to be a fun little area to ride through and snowboard or ski through. And I left this area kind of open on this side because I have some plans for this area, so I didn't want to fill this in too much. But anyway, I think this is turning out pretty nice. It looks really good, and it looks a little bit like the screenshots from the movie. You got some multiple elevations there with some hills on it, and I really like how that's coming together. I think this is going to be a lot of fun as we start putting in some activities and things to do in here. And in case you're curious, you can see the memory meter on the right. It's about 2/3, a little less than 2/3 full, so I've used a lot of memory for this, and that makes sense because this is a massive toy box is what this has grown into. But I've still got a lot of room, I think, for the games and activities that I want to put in here, so I think that's going to work out pretty good. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel or sign up on my blog to see what we do next time in this series. You can find build tips and logic diagrams for the different toy boxes and challenges that we make. And for now, Olaf and I are signing off from Arendelle, and we'll see you next time.